what's your interest in film, and how did you get involved in the whole American Samurai project?
Well, when I started making movies, I was making short films at 14. Um, I had seen all the American Ninjas, the Avenging Forces, and all those. So I'm a genre buff and horror movies. So I gravitated into that. A friend of mine had called me up, said, "Dad's got a new video camera. Let's make a movie." And I said, "Well, what kind of movie are we gonna make?" Like, I had done some plays in school, and he said, "Let's make a knockoff of Halloween 2, the 1981 version." And I had never seen it, so I said, "Yeah, sure." So we had no script, we just made it up. But it was like lightning in a bottle. Like it really was. It's something, it just sparked. And for all these years, it's always been there. And growing up on weekends, we'd be making short films. So I'd be running around my second family's house, the Winters family, as I call them. I'd be running around their house and we'd be making ninja movies and, you know, all these things. And we were lugging these cameras that we had battery packs to and portable VCRs and extension cords everywhere. And that's kind of how I started. And it just stayed from there. And any new B movie that come out, the next American Ninja or the next horror movie, I'd sit down and I write in a scribbler, and I that's how I started writing was more or less knocking off the B movies that we were going to make that weekend, and it was every single weekend, and that's where it all began until I started volunteering with local TV, learned to edit, and the different things like that, and then I just gravitated into making ultra low budget features. So I had already done one feature, I had done a TV show, and I don't know, 250 short movies. And then I started working on my next feature, and I ended up with a work print. It took me quite a few years. I ended up with a work print, and I said, "It's all right, but I want to make some adjustments." So I went and I got there and I started doing reshoots. And I'm in the final edit, and then all of a sudden the drive crashed and I lost everything.
Ooh.
And I sat there and all I had was the work print. And that was it. So I'm sitting there, I'm bored, and I threw American Samurai on one day. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. And I always knew when you watch this movie, it's a little bit off. Something just doesn't feel right, especially when you get to the ending fight between David Bradley and Mark Dacascos. The continuity is really wrong. David's wardrobe changes from one shot to the next and so forth.
Mhm.
And since I'm a Canon Films fan, I try to collect scripts here and there. And I thought, I'll see if I can find the script. And I had looked for this script for almost 2 years and could never find it. Close I can find is a transcript, and that's all just dialogue.
Yeah.
There's no exterior day, interior night, nothing to know where the scenes went. And then I bought Sam Firstenberg's book, and there's a whole chapter devoted to American Samurai. And it's the only movie his entire career that when he finished the cut and gave it to the studio, he went off to go do a TV series, and they recut the movie, and that became the cut that we know in North America, anyway, the domestic. And it's really off. So I'm trying to find the script. I've got nothing going on. And I thought, Sam's birthday is coming up. I'm going to cut this movie and I'm going to send it to him on a secure link in YouTube and say, "Happy birthday, Sam. Here's your movie." And that was it. And I talked to him a few times, told him, "Hey, listen, here's a copy of Avenging Force. I just bought it. It's my favorite Sam Firstenberg movie. In fact, it's actually my favorite movie.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, favorite in the action genre
It's
anyway.
it's a great film, absolutely.
It's not like watching American Ninja. I don't want to say a popcorn movie, but American Ninja more like a popcorn and fluff and a great action film. But Avenging Force is much deeper in
Oh,
subject matter,
definitely.
tone, the music, everything. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the best Sam Firstenberg and Michael Dudikoff film. So, I'm playing around and I can't find the script. I can't get there and I can't cut this movie and send it to Sam for his birthday. So finally, in the end, I broke down and I messaged him. I said, Sam, in my spare time when I'm not working on my own projects, kind of like to keep my editing skills sharp, put some pictures together, deleted scenes, whatnot, whatnot. Do you know where I can find a copy of the script? He couldn't find one. He doesn't have one. It might be in his other home in Israel. But he said, I'll help you. And we're talking about a movie he shot 33 years ago. I think I can remember. I said, well, hey, great, great. If you can remember, not a problem. Let's do it together. It was supposed to be a fun project. Excuse me, for him and myself. This is my childhood hero, film director, and I'm just like a 4 year old at Christmas morning. I'm running around. He's going to help me with it. And the next thing you know, somehow along the way, we just made it public that we were doing this. And but shortly before we did that, I knew what the ending fight was supposed to be. He had told me. So I cut it, took my phone out, recorded it on my phone, and sent it to him. And I thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have actually exported the file off and sent it to him. Now it's going to look terrible. It's on a cell phone. It's not going to be good. It's oh. So I sent it, and I didn't hear anything. And I thought, oh, I blew it. I just completely blew this. And it was about 28 hours later, and it was a long 28 hours. And he messaged me back and he said, that's exactly how it's supposed to look. And I thought, hey, right on, great. Okay, I'm still in the running here. I might be able to do this. And I got there and I started playing around with it a little bit more. And I sent him another scene. And he said, now that you got me motivated, said, I'm going to sit down, watch the movie, and give you all my remarks. And I thought, hey, great, no problem. Maybe in a couple of days I'll get them. I just walked through the door and sat down to have a cup of coffee, and my phone just ding, 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 and all the messages were coming up from him in this scene, and in this scene, and in this scene. So I said, hang on a minute, I got to get my editor going. Let me get up to speed with you, and we'll start working on this. So he's messaging me, and I'm looking at what he's saying on my phone, and I'm starting to cut this with him.
Mhm.
And it's been an amazing, amazing experience. Like, really, this was only supposed to be just a fun little thing for him and me.
Yeah.
And somehow along the line, I don't know if it was him or me that suggested, let's do a Facebook page. I had secretly cut a trailer and I didn't tell him I was doing it. And I sent him the trailer and said, what do you think? How does this look? And he was like, this is great. I said, well, do I have your permission to share it? Yeah, sure. I would. I said, okay, great. So I shared it. And a few minutes went by. I got a couple of notifications on my phone, nothing major. And then Sam shared it and it just lit up. And since the moment we've shared that trailer and created the Facebook page, my phone has not stopped. I'm getting messages from people all over the world, Germany, France, the United States, Canada, you know, Australia, anywhere and everywhere in between. Everybody want to know about this movie. So
I mean,
it's been quite a roller coaster ride.
it's crazy to see like how many fans there are, not only of Sam, but of like these B movies that a lot of people overlook. And
Yeah,
for me personally, I prefer watching B movies to, X-Men or Iron Man or whatever, these big budget, action flicks. I want to go back and watch Michael Dudikoff or Steve James, those are the ones that I love. And I'm actually excited to see that these movies that Sam did all these years ago are getting so much more publicity nowadays. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about what happened with Riverbend.
Yep.
You know, of course, the 40th anniversary screening of Breaking Two. I mean, I'm excited for him.
Me too. Like it's amazing. It, you sit there and you think about it. These movies are 30, 40 years old. They're movies that you and I grew up with. The new generation has no idea what they're missing as far as I'm concerned. And now all of a sudden, with the internet, people are starting to rediscover these movies. And they're getting, he's getting messages from people, screenings, he's traveling all around and talking and sharing the stories about making the movies. But you are absolutely right. I would sooner sit home and put on any one of Sam's movies, Michael Dudikoff, David Bradley, Steve James,
Yeah.
all these guys that I grew up watching, I still continue to watch to this day, even if they are retired or semi-retired. There's that moment in time where it was a great moment, and now all mostly what you have at the theater are superhero movies.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with some of them. I like
Yeah.
the
You know,
Iron Mans. They were good, but
I
they
mean, when they
just don't
first
hold
started
them.
making them, I got excited about each new one, and then after a while, now that's it. That's all you get.
That's
And
it.
I'm just I'm over it. I want to go back to because like a perfect example is I just watched that remake of Roadhouse,
Yes.
and it's good, but you're sitting there watching these fight scenes that are CG enhanced. Why? I
Yeah.
mean, there's no reason for it. I mean, you
No.
can watch,
And
these guys, Michael Dudikoff and Chuck Norris. I mean, those action scenes are still some of the best action scenes ever committed to film. This CGI stuff just doesn't work for me.
no, it don't work for me either. I mean, it has its place.
Yes,
It's a
definitely.
it's a tool like anything else. It's like AI, cell phone movie making now. These are all tools, but you need to be able to tell a story from the beginning. And when you start relying too much on these tools, and let's just pick, we'll just pick on CGI for now. Yeah, if you start using it too much, then it's an effect movie, and you start taking away from the performances. You start taking away from the action that's happening on screen. So when you go back and well, let's throw Avenging Force in there. You go back and you watch these guys, and they're fighting in the swamps. I think Sam had told me they were in the swamps for 2 weeks shooting. Yeah, and there's gators and crocodiles, all kinds of stuff in these swamps. Nowadays, they'd probably shoot something like that, blue screen, green screen, and in a tank somewhere on the back lot, and you don't get the feeling. It's all to me. It's all about the feeling. What do you think about 4K when you watch a movie in 4K? What do you think of that?
Um, you know, it depends on the movie and actually how the transfer's done. Because I get a
Okay.
lot of old grindhouse movies to write reviews on that have been done in 4K. Some of them are just too clear,
Mm-hmm.
and others keep that grain but kind of enhance where it needs to be. And then, that I absolutely love. Because a lot of those times when, back in the 80s and 90s, those movies were being bootlegged left and right because you couldn't get them anywhere.
That's
The
right.
quality, the quality was all grainy and you just couldn't see what was going on. So if you keep a certain amount of grain to keep that feel and then kind of punch up the colors and, clear things up a bit, then absolutely.
Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, you're absolutely right in that regard. But for me, if I'm sitting down and I'm watching a movie from the 80s and 90s, again, it goes back to that feeling, the grit and the grain. I still have the original VHS rental of Avenging Force,
Oh, wow.
American Ninja, Pray for Death with Sho Kosugi. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I,
got a few of those myself on
yeah,
VHS.
do you got the big box ones like opening up a book and you take the cassette tape
I
out?
I do for I believe the first American Ninja and I do for Pray for Death actually.
Me too. Those are and the second Mission in Action. I got the big box and those. but I still got, a vast library of VHS type of thing. And I've watched some of the new transfers on Blu-ray, and they don't seem to have that type of color,
Yeah.
It it gets kind of lost.
Yeah. Sometimes when I don't know, it's just like sometimes they go way overboard trying to clear things up. And when they were made back then, they really weren't meant to be seen that way, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and you kind of lose it, I
Definitely.
would I my cousin and I sat down and we watched an old 70s movie. We had found Bare Knuckles.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
if you've never seen
I
this
don't think I've
movie,
seen it, but I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, you really got to watch it. And it's gritty, it's mean. You can still see the film blotches and scratches come up onto it, and it's not an overlay or CGI in any way. It's the actual transfer of it. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I'm completely lost in the moment. This is a 70s movie. It's got the look, the sound, the lighting, and nothing's been changed. And this is more or less a grindhouse movie. So I'm waiting for somebody to come pick this movie up and re-release it, underneath, a banner or a marquee,
Hmm.
grindhouse type of thing, so people know what they're getting. But it was actually a really good movie, and
Hmm.
to see it in that aspect, the way it was meant to be seen, this is the only way to see it.
Yeah. There's like what was it? Trying to think. I don't know if you're real familiar with Jess Franco, Jesus Franco, the filmmaker.
Yeah, some of his work.
And I've just been recently getting some of his stuff in 4K. And a lot they're doing those right. They're,
Okay.
giving you alternate versions, the fully uncut version or a German release. They try to keep there'd be like two or three discs and they give you like a little bit of everything. So you get to see, the different variations, and that's the kind of stuff that, I enjoy seeing because you get to see like the original cut and it's not too glossy or overly produced looking, it still preserves, and there's certain labels that are put, boutique Blu-ray labels and stuff that are
Right.
putting stuff out that are trying to preserve that, but still, give you the best possible quality without taking you out of or what actually made you fall in love with the film in the first place.
No, I gotta. Well, and that is the proper way to do it. Because once you start doing that, you've lost me.
Yeah.
Once you start trying to clean it up and excuse me, and make it more than what it is, it's over for me. I'm done. I got a friend of mine who bought Predator on Blu-ray,
Mhm.
and I said, "Well, how does it look?" Because I've got it on DVD, I got it on VHS type of thing. And I said the grittiness of it on even on DVD is still there. So how does it look on Blu-ray? And he said to me, they cleaned it up too much. It doesn't look right. And I said, well, then I'm not. And I never did buy it on Blu-ray. I'll watch it on DVD because Predator is a movie. It's one of, as far as I'm concerned, I like Predator more than I do the second Terminator. I've got to be truthful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's gritty, it's dark, it's atmospheric, it's got all the elements of a action horror and sci-fi-ish type of movie. It was done right. So if you start taking all that and playing with it, it's over.
Hey Sam, how you
How you
doing?
doing, gentlemen?
Good.
Hello.
I was just talking with the David Kurzhol.
Oh
I don't know if you are familiar.
yeah.
He's a martial art. He's an actor, interviewer, has
Yeah,
a
Viking
martial art
Samurai.
website, just martial art.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so once a year ago, so once we had a session like this, which was just dedicated to David Bradley. What the title was, whatever happens to David Bradley, and we never came to any conclusion. And today they asked me again. The last question was, do I know anything about David Bradley? So I told them the whole story about the reconstruction, and it was very interesting. There was a lot. It was alive, so there were questions from the listeners,
Oh,
and I told them about David Bradley and what we know. the best of and we don't know if he will pop up maybe.
Well, his films
I
are
was
kind of
thinking
getting a
about David the
resurgence.
other night. I was really thinking about him that uh, what do you want to do? If you want to start in a second, but I remembered something about David Ridley, episodic. I like to
Mhm.
tell it. He lived not far from me. I live in the southern part of Beverly Hills. He lived in Venice. So let's say 25 minutes drive. And we were in good contact, more or less. Not very friendly, but friendly. I used to drive to him. Let's do lunch. He used to come to my house. One day he takes me out in Venice Beach, if you guys know. I said, it's the place of weirdos of Los Angeles. This is the center of the weirdos of Los Angeles. Not necessarily homeless. There are a lot of homeless, but also the strangers, all the strangers of Beverly Hills, of Los Angeles are concentrated in Venice and the famous Venice Beach. So he shows me a building on the beach, right on almost on the water, on the boardwalk. And on the second floor, he takes me to the second floor. There is a big hall. And he tells me, I bought this building. This is my building, David. And he was an entrepreneur. Prior to this, he was a car salesman, Cadillac salesman here in Los Angeles. So he was good with money and business. So I said, David, what are you doing with this big hall? So he took me to the second floor. He said, I let homeless people sleep here. So this was already kind of a sign that something. What do you mean you bought this building to let homeless people sleep in there? And he's like a movie star. He's a up and coming movie star.
Mhm.
And then it dawned on me, and then I thought about it. David is very charismatic, not only in the movie, in life. He's very charismatic. People are always surrounding him, and he knows how to talk with people. So it dawned on me at that point, I say, he is collecting cult. He's actively collecting followers. I thought about it. Maybe yes, maybe I'm wrong, maybe. And I think I was right.
But he could be.
Yeah. Hey, Sam, I wanted to ask you, like when you first took on the American Samurai project, that was wasn't that during like the transitional period of canon when like Menachem had left and Golan was on the way out?
Corey, let me explain. Corey, let me explain. Canon at some point went into financial troubles, really big trouble. So they took on a partner, Paletti.
Mhm.
Paletti came with a lot of cash. Everything was cash. Eventually he bought MGM for cash, this Paletti. Turned out to be, if I'm not wrong about, it can be,
Mhm.
I think he's sitting in prison, but it had to be a little bit researched. Turned out that he was some kind of a cash money for Italian mafia, laundering money. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is the story.
Mhm.
So he used to come to Hollywood with suitcases full of cash. And he bought into Canon because Canon was in deep trouble. There was one bank, many banks was bankrolling Canon, but one of them was Credit Lyonnais, French bank. They owned them like 300 million, I don't know how much, and they couldn't get out of it. Every movie was failing. Superman was failing. They didn't make money, big money. They made
Yeah.
small money with the Ninja, but they never made the big one, which was Superman was supposed to be. So this Paretti come in, he is helping them, and he's cashing them out, maybe paying the banks. I don't know how it works. But then he wants to make decisions. He became like partner number 3. There were 2 partners in the beginning, Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus, 2 cousins. And now comes this Italian guy. He wants to make decision as well. Menachem Golan was a very special character. He was a super ego character, not ego, super duper ego. He makes the decision. He made all the, maybe not the financial, but all the creative decisions in Canon were made by one man, Menachem Golan. And suddenly this guy wants to weigh in. Yes, I like this movie. I don't like. Menachem Golan couldn't live with him. It was not for his persona, for his character. And he told his cousin, I want to leave. I don't want to be with this man that wants to make a decision. Let's break this package. Yoram Globus by then was tired, I guess. So many movies, so many financial problems. They were so deep in debt that Yoram told him, I'm staying with this man, with Peretti. He has money. This guy has money. And Menachem Golan said, I want to leave. I want to break the package. I cannot live with it. And so it became. So somehow there was a financial arrangement. They had a lot of properties. So they divided the properties, I mean, by rights for movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For example, Delta Force. Okay. Canon had the right for Delta Force. Canon had the title American Ninja, and so on and so on. So they broke the package, and part of the deal was that Menachem Golan got some cash. So this Peretti gave him some cash, some money, and few of the titles that they owned. And he left the company, and he created a company called 21st Century. 20th century, 21st century. And he opened new offices. I will show them, I will this. He had a huge ego. Menachem Golan was bigger than life. It's very hard to describe him. Nobody ever wrote a book only about him, or a movie only about him. Bigger, but when you see the different videos which are floating in the internet, you see what his persona was, what personality he was. And he created a new company. He tried this movie, that movie, did not work out. Meantime, Canon, which was still Canon without Golan, went into bankruptcy because they owed so much money, Peretti couldn't help. Meantime, at the same time, Peretti already bought MGM also. He bought MGM for cash. Can you imagine to buy such a huge company for cash?
No.
Not at all.
No, neither do I, but he did. So now he's the president of MGM, and he took with him Yoram. They are the presidents, CEO and president of MGM. And Canon goes into bankruptcy. So there were many creditors, Warner Brother, MGM, Charles Bronson, many creditors. They went to court, everybody got a piece of Canon. Luckily, all the movies that I directed ended up in MGM. Some movies went to Warner Brother. I think the Delta Force went to Warner. And in Canon, beside Yoram Globus, there was another character, Chris Pierce. Chris Pierce was running the company physically, day-to-day operation. He was a British lawyer. He died. Menachem Golan died. So he was really running the company behind the scene. He was the manager, the company manager. So him and Yoram Globus and Menachem Golan, they created a studio in Israel. They had a studio in Israel. The GG studio, Golan Globus, GG studio. And Menachem Golan told Yoram, if we are parting in America, I want to separate in Israel as well. I don't want to be your partner. If you are not leaving Peretti and coming with me, that's how his character was, imposing character. I don't want to be your partner in Israel either. So give me my part in Israel. So he gave him some money, bought him out of the GG studios in Israel. The studios were, there was 2 sound stages near Jerusalem and a bunch of theaters in Israel. A lot of money. They still exist. So now Yoram Globus is stuck with a studio in Israel. And when they had Canon, they used to send the work. They did all this they did a bunch of children's stories.
Yeah, Canon movie tales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them they shot all of them in this studio in Israel. So that's how you take money from one pocket and move it to another pocket. That's how you take money from Canon, which is a public company, put it in GG in Israel, which is private company. That's a trick. New Images, they're doing the same trick. Okay. So now he is stuck, and there is no Canon that will supply work for the studio in Israel. So he created a new company which was called Global Picture. Canon, Globus. But since he was now the president of MGM, he couldn't run it. Conflict of interest, CNN, the commission of because Canon was a public company and MGM is a public company, so you cannot conflict of interest. So he took this guy, Chris Pierce, and he made him the head of Global. And apparently he's not he has nothing to do with the global, Europe Globus, but it's not true. He had. So global picture, and now, but still, Yoram is still the president also of Canon while the bankruptcy is going, you know. So complicated. So they decided to make, so they had the rights to Delta Force. They decided to make Delta Force 3 very quickly. They made a deal with Warner, and they put me as a director. We did it in Israel, in those studios, in the GG studios in Jerusalem. That's where we filmed Delta Force 3. It was a deal. They sold it to Warner. They wanted to do another movie, and this is American Samurai. There was still loose connection to Canon that was not dissolved completely yet, and it was still under the control of Canon. That's why you see in the movie a global production, Canon distribution.
Okay.
It's just moving money from one pocket to the other. It's tricks to keep the money. So global produced Canon, American Samurai, and they somehow gave it to the remnants of Canon to distribute it. That is the story. It was not it was the twilight of Canon, but it was another company, Global was the producer of.
Okay. And when you were making American Samurai, did you feel like you made the film that you wanted to make?
So no, there were two stages. It's more complicated than Lyle. No, you don't know. There is another story, Lyle. Maybe I told you. I was here. We finished this Delta Force. You're recording. Okay. We finished Delta Force, and we came back to Los Angeles. And they called me into the office. They say, we want to make something, American Ninja. So they want to do something similar. They couldn't. By then, MGM already owned the title American Ninja. MGM is very vigilant until today. They will not let anyone use this phrase American Ninja, MGM. So they wanted to do something with the word ninja. Ninja was making money. So anyway, they came up with this title American Samurai. There was no script. I don't know, maybe there was. And they introduced me to David Bradley. This Chris Pierce took me to lunch together with David. That's where I met David for the first time. They already knew David because he made American Ninja #4, something like this, #3, #4. So Chris already knew David Bradley, so I was introduced to David Bradley. Okay, how are you? There was a script, which was elaborated script, big script, like the style of American Ninja with tens of locations. I don't even remember the story. Many locations and elaborated action movie, not arena type of a movie, but action movie. And they send that to Israel because they want to use this GG studio, so it doesn't stay idle, because it costs money. There are personnel and people and equipment, and it costs money to keep this studio. So they sending us over there. And we started location scouting, etc. And one day, Chris Pierce called me, and I don't remember the details now, but kind of, it's too expensive. Big action movie in the desert, like Rambo, in Israel, all over Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, desert, and chases, and all those kind of things. So it's too expensive. Now they had in their memory Bloodsport. One arena, one place, you don't move. Make it cheap. This non-movement in movies makes the movie cheap. The most expensive thing in movie making is the movement. So they say, I'm sending you a new script. So in the midst of pre-production, while we are preparing, boom, comes a new script, which is an arena type of a movie, Bloodsport. So they utilize the studio more. It's all money,
Yeah.
But the script was fine. This is the script that we know. Yeah. It was fine, David Bradley, he goes to Turkey, and blah, blah, blah. I was now more involved. I wasn't that involved in the first script. I don't remember. Maybe I was involved in the first script, but this new script erased my memory. So I was starting, the writer was in America, I am in Israel, telephone calls back and forth. I wanted more Turkey, not only, that I rejected Bloodsport. I don't know if you guys know the story.
Yeah.
No, I
Because,
didn't.
oh yeah, yeah. After American Ninja, I came back to the offices, and a producer met me in the corridor. He is the producer of the movie. Forgot his name. And he said, "Oh, I was told about you." He tells me, "Here is a script. Menachem wants you to read the script." I take a script. I go home. I read. It's all in one location. In my opinion, it was a loser. One location, action movie in one location. People they like to be excitement. I came back the next day. I told him, "Listen, I don't want to do this. Van Damme was not attached yet. Nothing." I told him, I'm not interested. This is a loser. It's a one. He was so insulted, this guy, the producer. And he was mad at me. Anyway, I went on Avenging Force, Ninja 3, American Ninja number 3. And we'll come back to in a second. And after they made the movie was directed by Knut Arnold, that was an assistant director. I was his assistant with Billy Friedkin. He was assistant director to Billy Friedkin in the movie The Sorcerer, and I was his second. I was the second to Newton in The Sorcerer. And but anyway, he did a good job. And when the movie came back and edited, and all of this you can read in the book of Sheldon Lettich.
Yeah, that's the one I wrote.
Goodwin hated the movie. They hated the movie. One location for the same reason, one location, and they shelved it. 2 years it was in the company, was not distributed for 2 years. But Van Damme knew that this is his chance. So he was pasturing Menachem. He would come to the office every few weeks. Menachem, let's fix the movie. Eventually he brought in Sheldon, and Sheldon fixed the movie somehow. Sheldon Lettich. And the movie came out, and we were wrong. I was wrong. Menachem Golan was wrong. The movie was a huge success, Anyway, so that's the story of how I rejected, how I missed on. So that's what they wanted. They had this memory of Bloodsport, cheap movie in the Philippines over there, one area, and they sent me a new script, completely new script, which is this script. And I worked with the writer a little bit. I wanted to expand the mystery part of it and the brothers' relationship part of it. And that's it. So we were shooting the movie. So we got a script that the first half is the kind of the background story. How come there are two brothers eventually will meet at the climax of the movie, two half brothers? And why do they are the nemesis to each other? What is the problem? And there will be a lot of fighting. Now, Guy Norris, which I wrote to you yesterday, I worked with him on. He was the stunt coordinator of Delta Force number 3. I liked him very much. Of course, he's one of the best stuntmen in history of movie making. And so I say, okay, let's bring him back. And because the Australian and the Hong Kong cinema, they have good relationship. The Australian cinema and the Hong Kong cinema, they are in good relationship, working relationship. So he knew what the script was. So he brought with him a team of Hong Kong people. And I forgot the name. When you see the credit on IMDb, Guy Norris has a title of stunt coordinator, and there is another guy who is the fight choreographer, a Chinese name. He's one of those Hong Kong guys. I think it's the guy with the. I think it is the guy with the. If I remember correctly.
Ponytail there, yeah.
With the. So this team came from Hong Kong because the fights were not described on the script. You go and you have this character, the cowboy, but. So when the Hong Kong team arrived in Israel with Guy Norris, and we started to work on the arena part, which is 50% of the movie. We'll get to a point, I'll tell you. And we worked with them on what are we going to do in an arena, so which is not boring, So we got all this different character, the Arab guy with the sword, and the cowboy, and different character, which will have every fight will have a different weapon, different style of fighting. And this was, of course, discussion between me and Guy Norris and the Chinese coordinator and all the others. And This is the was conclusion. Okay, and we went out and we filmed the movie. It was not a little tiny movie. It was at least 6 weeks. So the fact that we are in arena brought it. Usually, my action movies, the action movie that I direct, are 8 weeks of shooting. So the fact that we are in one arena brought it down to 6 weeks because we don't have the light. The same lighting. We don't move every day. We came to the arena, boom, flip on the lights, and let's go to work. So they saved money. Eventually, they saved money. And I got a job while I was working there. A television show contacted me, Sweating Bullets. It has 2 titles, Sweating Bullets and Tropical Heat. It was a ABC midnight show, something, detective show. And they were shooting also in Israel to save money. ABC, I think. And they were shooting in Israel, and they interviewed me. They liked me to be in television show, directors are coming and going nonstop, But sometimes they have one director that makes more episodes, that directs more episodes than other. So I became the resident director. So I directed every second episode. You cannot, in television, you cannot direct every episode. And every second episode was a guest director. So I couldn't be in the editing room because the work started right away. And it was, the editing was in Tel Aviv. I had a very, very talented editor, Shlomo Hazan. And I am in Eilat, which is far from Tel Aviv. So every weekend I'm flying to Tel Aviv. I have this story in Hebrew. I will translate it to English and I'll give it to you. So every weekend I'm flying to Tel Aviv. I'm talking with him, flying back to Eilat, to continue working. And we finished the movie. It was good. Now the movie was, as Lyle know, it was built exactly more or less like American Ninja. It's peeling the leaves of the onion, peeling the layers of the onion. I like action movie that starts with a big bang. You don't understand who and what, but you understand that this is the hero. Yeah. Okay, this guy is going to be the hero of the movie. Michael Dudikoff, David Bradley, doesn't matter who. But why? Now there is a mystery why he's the hero of the movie. What happened? And as the story, through flashbacks, through here and there, whatever it takes to unpeel the story until you understand. So when you come to the final showdown between the hero, the antagonist and protagonist, like High Noon, you understand why they hate each other or why do they have to fight each other. Okay. So we finished the movie, editing, everything. They did not bother me, the global picture, the global are in Los Angeles, we are in Tel Aviv. And we finished, we send it to global, and I continue with the television show. I worked a full year. It was a full season. The season was over. They didn't need me anymore. I came back to Los Angeles. So global was right here, not far from me. The small company, 1, 2 room, 3 rooms, 1 editing room. So they invite me to see the movie. I come and I see another editor, which is credited in the movie. He's a good guy. He edited very well. And he shows me the movie. I see that the movie is completely different. They took the movie and they decided that the movie is too sophisticated for this type of an audience. It's told in a too sophisticated way, which is wrong. Action movie audience are very sophisticated people. And they took them for dumb, stupid people. If they like action, they're stupid people. So we have to tell them the story linear. Once upon a time, there was a little boy. The little boy, blah, 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 linear story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there are 2 brothers, and the brother hated each other. No mystery, you lose all the mystery. Once upon a time. And on top of it, they decided to add sex in. There was no sex. In action movies, you don't need sex. There is enough excitement in action that you don't need sex. In romantic movies, you need sex, not in action movies. I mean, there is romantic relationship, but you don't need sex in. Mm-hmm. So they hired 2 doubles, I guess. They couldn't get David and what's her name? I forgot.
Valerie.
Yeah,
Valerie Pratt. Yeah.
Valerie. They couldn't get them, so they hired 2. I guess I wasn't here. I was in Israel. As they hired 2 doubles, and they created the sex scene. Like 3-minute sex scenes with 2 doubles. Obviously, you don't see the face. It was so obvious. I mean, it was embarrassing. I'm watching this sex scenes with 2 doubles. You never see the faces. And they didn't like, they shifted some. Because of the linear, you have to take scenes and shift them. You have to take the scene, a memory scene, which is flashback scene, make them non-flashback scene, make them a plot scene. So they have to shuffle the scenes in the story to make it linear. And then when it comes to the arena, they shuffled some fights. I don't know why. They shuffled, and Lyle knows about it because continuity didn't work. Suddenly we discovered the continuity goes wrong because they shuffled scene. I don't know why, fights. And mainly, they did not like the fight between David and Mark Dacascos at the end. You know, Mark Dacascos plays the villain, David plays the hero, and the end of the movie, the pinnacle of the movie, the main fight, the showdown between the two. And I really wanted it to be like High Noon, you know, one shot. Whoever draws first is the winner. That's it. No big, you know, one shot, like classical Western. And that's how we did it, one shot. So they didn't like it. Again, they either hired doubles or they took material from outtake and they created a fight, which you don't see David and you don't see Mark. You know, and those are two famous people in the martial art world, David Bradley and Mark Dacascos. How can you do it? So that's it. This was the movie, 90 minutes. And I told, you know, I don't have a say. I was paid. Thank you very much. You're the director. Goodbye. And the movie went out. Was not successful. Financially, this movie was a failure. And they were surprised because on the Delta Force #3, they made good money. The global, good money. And on this one, they lost money. They didn't make money. And the company, this is the only, sorry. Why did all of this happen? Why all of this happened? Because the company, there was only one man running the company, Chris Pierce, and he didn't know how to move it. So they hired a producer, Jerry something. He was the producer of Marlboro Man. Marlboro Man and
Harley Davidson, the Marvel Man?
the Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man. Jerry something. I forget him. And he had a little office in here, 20th Century Fox. And this was the only movie that he produced. He was not really a movie producer, but he was a kind of an organizer. He could put Mickey Rourke, and he had the talent of putting things together, but he was not a cinematic producer. I guess so. I met him once or twice. And so they hired him to get global going, to bring stars, but he was fired already from 20th Century because they saw he was not doing anything in 20th Century. So neither he did anything in global, but he made it his mission to fix this movie. Maybe he was he died now. I don't want to talk about people who then, but maybe he was a simple-minded man. So he decided that this movie was too sophisticated for the audience. And the kind of Chris Pierce let Jerry do the rest of the work. So he was in charge of the sex. He was a simple character, you know. For him, sex scene was exciting, and the story, the unpeeling onion, was too sophisticated for him. So he was he's the one who changed the movie, who is because of it, I guess. So they were in power, and the movie went out, did not make money. They, you know, and for 35 years nothing. 32 years, nothing happened until our hero here came. So he's the new hero. Lyle is the new hero of the new movie, of the new plot.
Now, what did you think when Lyle came along with the idea?
At first, I think he wanted to surprise me. Is it correct, Lyle? I don't know.
Yes,
he wanted to surprise me with but then he ran into the biggest problem that he couldn't find the script, the original script. He tried. Then he approached me. Only then he approached me and said, "Okay, I was trying to surprise you, but it doesn't work because maybe you have a script, maybe I have a script." Now I looked around but I think that the script was left in Israel. I think that I do have a script in Israel. But I told Lyle, you know, no fear. I have a very good memory. When it comes to cinema, I have a very, very good, to the movie, not all cinema, the movies.
Well, you do.
I have a very good memory. I remember every move, everything, So I said, you know what, let's rely on my memory and we can reconstruct the movie to the way it was, the way, and we started slowly, but of course it's a limited situation. So I was happy. I was very happy because this was the only sore thorn in my career. The only, I made almost 25 movies, 24 or so, and I always had the freedom, I didn't need director. Every one of my movies, the director cut, except the fact that we had to cut them to 90 minutes. This was the only restriction in Canon. I could have easily made the 2-hour movies because most of the movies were 2 hours, but we cut them. So this was the only restriction. Other than that, they're really my movies. And this was the only one that was, a problem for me, that it was not, and you don't care if it's not your cut as a director, if it's in the spirit, but this was not even in the spirit of the movie that I made. It's the sex scene drove me crazy, and the linear. I don't like action movies in a linear way. It's not the right. Our audience are much more sophisticated. They understand movie made, the language of cinema and movie. So I was very happy when he came. Now, Lyle, I'll tell you why you cannot reach 90 minutes. Because I think by adding the sex scene, etc., they took out some fights. I think we are missing 1 or 2 fights.
I think
just
so.
Taken out completely.
Yeah, because it looks to be almost 81 minutes long.
So we are missing at least 1 fight. Because our movie without the sex scene and without the boy, the story about the boy and the aeroplane and falling was 90 minutes, 95. So in order to accommodate, they wanted to keep it 90 minutes. 90 minutes is a very easy sell in this business, in our business. It fits into television 2 hours with commercials. 95 minutes is exactly 2 hours in television. And in theaters, it's also very good because they have 1 more showing. If you have movie more longer than 90 minutes, the theater owner is losing 1 showing every night. So I guess to keep it in the 95, they took out the fight scene. I cannot remember which one, but this is my feeling. So this was a relief. And I was talking with my sister earlier. I said, I do not believe it. 35 years later, there is a resurrection to some movies that I was sure that I could not imagine how it can be reconstructed without going back to the original material. And the original material, just like Canon, probably disappeared because those 2 companies, Canon and Global, went bankrupt. And usually, if you're not a big studio, you don't keep all the outtake and all the. And by the way, all of them are in Israel. Maybe they are still in Israel. I don't know. Maybe. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the material is in the lab in Israel. But I don't know if there is still labs in Israel that develop film because everything is digital. So this is our problem with Ninja 3, the domination. This is our problem with Riverbend. There is no way we cannot find the original. I'm not talking about the original cut negative, but 1 stage before the cut negative. Not in, we know that there was a good scene between Sho Kasugi and David Chang in American Ninja 3 that we didn't use. And MGM was looking for it. We cannot find it. Nobody knows what it is. Because when they went bankrupt, maybe all the material was thrown into garbage bins. All the wardrobe, all the props, all the outtake, all the negative. Because when a company goes bankrupt, nobody pays the warehouse, nobody pays it's not a studio that they have their own mechanism.
Right.
So maybe some warehouse owners say, okay, the hell with this. Everything goes into garbage. Probably.
Yeah. Well,
this is my assumption.
Now, Lyle, because of those limitations, how difficult has it been for you to construct this film back, to his vision?
Once I knew where the scenes were going to go, what was coming out, what was staying in, it wasn't hard visually to do, but sound wise, because everything it's not layered anymore. You don't have your dialogue and your ambient and your music and your effects. Everything is on 1 track.
Yeah.
Married.
So, yep.
They call it married. Everything is married together.
Right. Yes. Yes. So it's all, it's all married together. So how do you get there, and how do you make it sound right? And the only thing you can do is start cutting pieces and dropping them on audio tracks and then crossfading them, looking for in a particular scene where nobody's talking, you can pick up the ambient noise, copy it, paste it, and put it in there. So you're more or less stack building the audio sound from what's already there. You're just copying and dropping it, copying, dropping, copying, dropping it until you can build the scene out. Because our eyes will get there, and we'll look at an image and we'll be a little bit more forgiving. But our ears, if something isn't right with the sound, we automatically notice it. And then we notice the visual right off the bat. So you have to be able to make sure, at the very least, the sound is working. So that's actually been the hardest part, was to get there and take the sound. And I was very lucky that when the ending credits started to roll, the theme music started to play, and there was no other sound effect that was going, that was fading into it. So I could take pieces of the actual theme song, the American Samurai theme song, and cut chunks out of it and drop it into certain places throughout the movie and fade it in and fade it out.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's what it, well, with I don't want to ruin it, but I did it 2 or 3 times and that was a saving grace right there, was because there was no, the theme song itself played perfectly with the ending credits, so that there was no other sound or effect or dialogue or anything that blended right into this, and I was able to take it from there, and that was the saving grace right there.
You guys surprised at how fans have been so excited about seeing this, and then questions are flying left and right, and it's kind of exploding really on social media.
Yeah, like I'm completely blown away. I really overestimated, sorry, I didn't expect it, because American Samurai didn't have, it didn't become a franchise, or it didn't even have a sequel. If I had stepped in into the arena, say, of the Ninja series, Enter, Revenge, and Ninja 3, and I found the deleted material, I'm going to put it together. Sam and I are working on it. Then I'd expect people from everywhere. If I jumped into the American Ninja, say there's deleted material, I'm putting it all back together. I expect it, because these movies have very strong followings. I mean, Sam just went for the, what was it, the 40th anniversary screening or something to that effect, Sam, for a Ninja 3. You just did Electric Boogaloo, Breaking Two.
And
Yeah,
next month in Toronto, there is a 40th anniversary screening of Ninja 3: The Domination in Toronto.
Awesome.
there you go. And so if I had jumped into that arena,
Easy.
then I would have expected all these people from everywhere.
Correct.
But I wasn't expecting, this much from American Samurai, because it come out, it disappeared. It's 32 years later. David to this day still has a strong following because he's a mystery. He did the perfect exit. He just more or less walked out, closed the door behind him, no press release, no nothing. The man became a mystery, and that's what's kept it, kept his legacy going, is the work he did and the fact he just bowed out gracefully, told nobody, and disappeared. It's a phenomenal exit. You don't get any better than that. And then you got Mark Dacascos, who's gone on to do so many other films. The Iron Chef. I think it's John Wick 3 he's in.
3, yep. Yep.
Only the strong.
Yes, Only the Strong.
Fantastic film. I love Only the Strong. That was a great movie.
Yeah,
when I interviewed him for that, when I interviewed him for my Ledge book, he was probably one of the nicest guys, most humble guys I've ever spoken to.
I haven't had the pleasure to speak with him yet, but maybe someday. But yeah, when it came to Samurai, when I secretly cut a trailer, Sam didn't know I was doing it. I sent it to him. He liked the trailer. I said, Sam, can I have your permission to post this on Facebook? Sure. So I posted it. I got a couple notifications. and then Sam shared it. And then within a few minutes, that was it. My phone was lighting up from people all over the world. When is this coming? What are you doing? You know, is it going to be shorter? Is it going to be longer? Is it going to be 2K, 4K? You know, is David Bradley involved and Mark Dacascos and all this stuff? And secretly, I mean, I hold a lot of the answers. I don't want to give too much away, even though I'm about 98% done with the film. I really truly am. There's, you know, I'm kind of playing around with different things. And before we release it, I want to send it back to Sam so that he can get there and he can tell me yes, no, fix this, change that. And then if everything's good, then, you know, we're going to move on to the next phase. And
I, yeah, I was also surprised by their reaction. I told you, so many people. I always had this feeling that David has followers. David Bradley has followers, and I'm still a little bit bitter with the new image that they did something legally or financially that we don't have Cyber Cup and Cyber Cup #2 on DVD yet. They're only in VHS cassette.
That's right.
And some legal problem. And I'm always telling somebody can make money with releasing a Blu-ray because David has followers. David Bradley has followers, and they would love to have even Cyber Cup #1 and Cyber Cup #2 on a Blu-ray.
That'd be a great double feature.
And this is stuck somewhere between New Image and Lionsgate. I don't know exactly what is the legal problem over there. But so one day something will happen. And those are two fun movies with David Bradley. Yeah,
and definitely.
Something like this will happen also. Yeah, but I was also surprised because I had the same feeling like you. Those movies are kind of disappeared. But no, there are a lot of people who love David Bradley. And they appreciate the fights, you know, people who like weapon fights, and they appreciate the versatility of material you have in American Samurai.
Yeah. It's when I look at it and I'm trying to, I really didn't change much of the fights.
No.
Why would I want to? It's the perfect example. If you can get an actor to perform their own stunts, their own fighting, and the audience who's paying, whether it's the VHS rental, or going to the theater to watch it, they're going to watch their idol on the screen, and they're seeing them do these larger than life feats. If you start cutting away from that, you start cheapening it. And when I'm looking at American Samurai, Sam shot it fantastic. Lots of movement, lots of wider shots. You can see that all these people are professionals in their field. I mean, Mark Dacascos, David Bradley. And when I'm going frame for frame, I'm moving forward, I'm moving backward. You can see how close these guys are coming and their technique. It's fantastic. So to get there and to mess with a lot of the fights, I said no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take away from that. I felt like I'd be taking away from not just Sam and David and Mark, but everybody involved in the movie. So the best part would be to just leave it alone, unless there was something that was really out of whack. And that was one of them was the bar fight, the Turkish bar fight, where they go into the nightclub.
Oh,
yeah. Before the arena.
Right, before the arena. And you've got the big guy there, the cowboy with the knife and all that. And the guy's getting up and he's got a butterfly knife, and there's a guy in a gray suit, and he's going to stand up, and then the next shot he's sitting down, and then in the next shot he's trying to draw a gun, but then he's standing up. And I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking, okay, I've watched this movie over the years a million times. And I've enjoyed it. I can't lie. I've enjoyed it for what it was. But now I'm looking at it with different eyes. Now I'm looking at it from an editor. Yeah, I'm putting this together. So how am I going to do this? And one of the first things when I looked at it was, well, why is this guy here sitting down? Now he's standing up. Why is David over here and over there? So I started looking at it and I started moving things around just to play with it. There had to be something somewhere. And when I rebuilt the sequence, it was actually quite surprising to see how badly it was cut.
Yeah.
How the
Lyle,
continue, yeah.
let me assure you, because I'm a continuity fanatic. I'm crazy about continuity. Crazy. Let me assure you that in the original cut, there are no mistakes, in such mistakes. Definitely. For
There's
some reason, I don't know why, maybe the second editor was not that aware of continuity, because you found continuity mistakes later on again and
oh
again.
yeah,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
oh
And
yeah.
I'm telling you 100%, I know I know myself. And not only this, we had a continuity person on the set. We wouldn't make mistakes like this. Somebody standing and sitting, and we met. We later on, you found the dead guy. Dead guy, you found him later on in the movie after he was dead.
That's right.
So all of this was done by the secondary editor. I guess I was not around, so I don't know. Because I'm fanatic. I'm crazy about continuity. Things like this don't. But okay, thank God you're. Thankfully, you're fixing and you see it, and you can see those mistakes, and
Well,
to the best of the ability with what you have, because if you, as you mentioned, you don't have access to separate pieces of material
that's right.
where you are taking the married, what we call everything is married together, music, sound, background, everything, and you cannot separate. When you cut a piece, you take it with the sound of it, or with the colors, with the color correction that it was corrected or whatever, and we cannot either improve or change or do anything. So, okay, to the best of our ability. I believe, guys, that the fans will understand and will forgive, because I still believe, I'm a great believer that in a movie, the most important thing is the plot.
But it has
You
to be.
can shoot a movie with your iPhone. If the plot is interesting, compelling, draws the audience in, they forgive the technical stuff. I know you're right. It jumps. Sometimes if you have a problem with the sound, it jumps. But if the movie is compelling and interesting, audiences and fans and viewers are forgiven the technical problems.
Sam, have you been asked the questions about the ending fight? Will it be fixed? Will we see it originally? And then another one was there was a fighter that was killed off in the first fight in the arena. And then you can later on see him training again with all the other fighters and stuff. Has anybody ever approached you
No,
about that?
the truth that no, I had, I'm approached a lot by people through my website, through Facebook, through the social media in general, and people know my email address is public. Most of the people who approach me, 80% is about American Ninja. I
Oh
must
yeah.
admit. This is the big one. This is the biggie.
Yeah.
American Ninja, American Ninja, American. The second in line is Breaking 2, the breakdance movie. The two American Ninja, American Ninja 1 and American Ninja 2. The second in line, so now we jump from 80% to 10% is about breakdance. Breakdance is a cult, wait, okay. Breakdance is a iconic of the 80s, cultural iconic. And then comes the cult movie Ninja 3, The Domination. So a lot of approaching me is about questions and remarks, and is about Ninja 3, The Domination. So those three are occupying most of the corresponding that I have.
Okay.
Once in a while, really, once in a while, some question about American Samurai. Once in a while about Riverbend, very little. And even Avenging Force, which is a movie that I love, very
Yeah.
little
Great movie.
reaction and that's it. So very little. Nobody ever. I know in American Ninja they will pick up the slightest mistake in continuity. I will have 200 letters. But to answer your question, not about American someone.
Okay. The reason I asked is because that was a lot of the questions I was getting.
Yeah, you told me.
Shorter? Is it going to be longer? Is it going to be shorter? What are we going to see? Is the ending fight going to be the way you envisioned it? Because everybody could tell when they watched it.
Oh,
David's
the final
wardrobe,
fight was obvious. Yeah.
yeah, and then this whole fighter, and you can see him later on, and I just want, when the people watch this interview, I just want them to know, yes, it's fixed. Those questions are fixed. The
Thank you.
fighter that you see when he gets killed in the arena, to the best of my ability with the material I had, when he shows up later on in I call it the bullpen where all the other fighters are sitting and waiting, you might catch a tiny, tiny glimpse of him, but not much. There was nowhere else for me to cut to, but for the fans to try and fix that problem, this was the best that I could do for that particular scene. The ending fight, I will say without 100%, it is exactly what you wanted.
Exactly. Well, Lyle, let me tell you, you did fantastic job, and let me also bring out the point that I could not understand why the secondary editing shift around the fight sequence, the order of the fight. There was no purpose, and you found out the problem with David with the shirt. Suddenly he was with the with the kimono, and next you see him back in the shirt from early on in this. What was the purpose? I cannot imagine. What was the purpose of just shifting around different fights within the arena? I have no idea.
The only thing I
Really?
can the only thing I can think of when they did that was, okay, we got a bit of talking, let's move to the action.
Maybe.
And now, now we got to go back and, oh, let's throw it in here. It almost to me seems like it was a rush job. Let's fix it up, let's do this, and let's put it out.
Yeah,
And
probably.
and I don't want to speak bad of anybody because everybody
Sure.
works hard on a picture.
No, the next editor did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm no question about it. I'm questioning why move around. There is like 45 minutes in the arena, and there was an order of fight A, B, C, D. Why take C, put in its arena, or A, and I could not figure out. Maybe there was a purpose, but
The only
so and I definitely don't remember the order of the fights 32 years later. But what you're doing makes sense. I watched it already, and it definitely makes sense.
Well, thank you. The one scene I have to say in the entire movie that actually terrified me to do, because I had no idea how I was going to pull it off, was that scene with David Bradley and Mark Dacascos, where David's all chained up and they're in the basement, and he's wearing, I'll just say he's wearing street clothes.
Right,
So,
khaki shirt. Yeah.
right, the khaki shirt and so forth. And so you've got that moment, and then we intercut that scene with people arriving in the arena, and then they're talking a little bit, and then we go back to David and Mark Dacascos in that basement, and then we kind of finish out that scene, and then we go into the fight we already just started to show. And then about 10 minutes later, we're back in there again, but we've already showed David in his kimono waiting with the other fighters.
Changing
So
to a kimono. Yeah.
right. So the continuity way off. And it's not something that's a little mistake that people, so that's
Right.
why I say when I looked at it, it was just, okay, you had to have known this. There's no way around it. Let's just slap it together now and get it out there. So what I had done was I sat there on the timeline. I looked at this whole entire block of time, we'll say 15 minutes. And you could tell that this scene was one scene, and I cut it. So I took, and let's say they made two scenes out of it, but let's call them segment 1 and segment 2 for the explanation. So segment 1, it's all intercut with the fights. So I took the introduction of the fight that's going to happen later. I took that all out, put it way on the back on the rack. Then I took these two segments where they're sitting there and they're talking in this basement. I put them together. So when you start to watch it, when you take these other elements out and you put it together, all of a sudden, 1 minute, Mark is walking here, and then he's over here.
Because
So
you're
what?
missing little pieces. Yeah.
Because I'm missing the pieces, I don't have them to work with. That's right. So what do you do? So then I'd go back and I'd put that introduction in, and that's going to cover up where he's walking around them. Because for 1 minute he starts here, and the next minute he's over here. So we need to go between something. So the best thing to do was to cut out a couple seconds where they might talk, about being in Turkey and the Yakuza and the opium trade. We've already established that. We don't need to really get into it again, but we can just kind of play it a little bit. So let's drop a couple seconds of it. And then I was able to work that section out. So then I had the second section, and when I put that whole scene together, you could actually see. I was like, wow, this was the entire out of doing this entire project and this entire movie. This was the one scene that terrified me. How am I going to do it? And when I
So you're
watched
talking
it,
about the scene that David Bradley and Mark Dacascos are confronting each other before they go to fight.
that's
Before,
right, yeah, in the basement,
so
yes,
they
and
meet after many years that they didn't see each other. They meet for the first time.
yep. And when I watched the cut, I couldn't believe it worked out that well. I was really, really surprised because the material isn't there to work with. So you have to cheat a little bit and work your way around it. But then the hard part became, how do I take this fight that was already established and was cut within this whole point where these guys were talking? How do you do it? So I looked at it and I would go frame for frame. So I might drop a couple frames here and drop a couple frames there and tweak it a little bit until I actually got this whole confrontation scene done, the best that it can be done. And I think it works really well. And then we go to the fight afterward, and the fight come out fantastic, even
Oh,
though there's a couple moments that I had to get rid of in order to keep the flow of it, right? Because it's all about pacing. Movies are built in the editing room.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Best
So
intent.
anyway, you're right. You're right about it, and believe me, at the end of it, I know we are picky. We are movie makers, but the audience are interested in the plot and the excitement of the fights, of the action.
So what do you guys kind of hope? I mean, I know you're still trying to keep some things, close to the chest there, but what do you hope happens when you get a chance to show it to audiences? And what are your aspirations, I guess, for the film when it's finished?
Lyle, you'll talk in a second. For me, you guys know that in the last years, in the last few years, 10 years, my energy is in preserving the legacy of the action movies of the 80s.
Mhm.
You know, we incorporated a little bit with about the book of Sheldon Lettich.
Yeah.
So all of them are important to me, not only my movies, Steve Carver, Sheldon Lettich, Toby Hooper, Joe Zito, the entire group.
Yeah.
So really, my energy, I'm happy about what happened, and I hope that now more people or repeat audience will see the movie, so they will be exposed. For me, the most important thing is to find a way, which I don't know yet, maybe we'll hear in a second, to get the most exposure to this movie so people can see it and enjoy it. Fans of action movies, fans of David Bradley, fans of Mark Dacascos, fans of this type of weapon fight type of a cinema will see it and will enjoy it. That's all. That's for me. How to achieve it, it's still a mystery. There are ways, but it's still a mystery. To me, I don't know yet. What do you say, Lyle? What?
Well, I hope they like it. I really do. When they finally see it, I hope they like it. They're going to see, yes, it's a hybrid cut between the uncut version and between, the domestic version, what I grew up watching. I can't lie about it. It is. It's a combination of both because that's the material I got. But it's structured and in the way of what you initially wanted. And that was the goal, to present your vision of the film, what you initially saw when and filmed and wanted to put out. So when people watch it, it's important for me to know that they understand that this is your vision, that you and I have worked on this to give them the best possible experience with this movie, with the material we had. So we might not be able to give them a 2K or a 4K without, I mean, I can always try a little bit later on. I can try, but if I do, how much of the material am I going to hurt? I would rather keep it how it looks now and not sacrifice anything for this 2 or 4K look.
Yeah.
And will we find a way to disseminate it to get to the way that the people will have an access to it? Because you know, nowadays all movies are streaming. People see movies in streaming, and we will not be able to put it in stream services. But maybe there are other ways that we can help to disseminate this movie, this cut.
I think there's a few. I mean, we've talked about a couple,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, is it too soon to mention, Sam? Do we mention it
Maybe
now?
not, but it's enough that you said that you know about few ways, and the surprise is there, and the followers will have the knowledge. When the time is right, we will let everybody know where they can see the movie.
All right.
That's awesome.
You know, movies have a lot of problem. Movies is a movie, it's a story, but behind movies there is legality, financial,
Mhm.
million other things which are making out the world of cinema. And that's the reason that sometimes movies disappeared, not because of they are bad or anything, because of some legality intermingling,
Yeah.
legal problems, that the movie just disappears in the abyss of unknown. And it's a good movie, but there is no way to, nobody, and no father, no mother, there are no parents, and the movie just drifts away because nobody takes it and nourish it. So hopefully here, what we are doing here, the movie that might have disappeared, we are trying to nourish it and to bring it to put it back on the stage, on the main stage.
Well, I hope it turns out the way you guys hope. I
If
mean,
we put it together, if I phrase it right.
and of course, as always, if there's ever anything I can do to help somewhere along the line, please do not hesitate to ask, because I'm just like you guys. These are the films that made me really,
Yeah.
and I'm always game to help preserve that feeling, that
Corey,
feeling of childhood, man.
Corey, I know because I follow you. I know that you are a champion of the low budget genre movies of the 80s. I know you wrote a book, and I never told you how I enjoyed it. I wrote to you, but
Yeah.
I read the book about Sheldon and I enjoyed it so much. And this book of Sheldon that you wrote was a mystery for me beyond movies. And I don't know if I told you, I told Sheldon.
Mhm.
There are so many things. I don't know Sheldon very well. I didn't know him, Sheldon Lettich. I knew him from the corridors of Canon. In
Yeah.
Canon, we used to edit in this room. Sheldon was busy in another room, and we met in the corridors here once in a while. And for many years, we were not in contact until you started to write the book, which reestablished the contact between me and Sheldon. And then through your book, I didn't know. I found out there were so many similar points in our life which are similar between me and Sheldon, which are amazing. We are both from Polish descent. We both have 3 daughters. We both went to film school here in Los Angeles. There are so many things. I was surprised how many things. We are in the same age. We are the same age, Sheldon and me.
Oh, wow, I didn't know
It's so many things are similar. We both work for Canon.
that.
I was so surprised, but so many things which I discovered, and both of us are big fans of the movie, the Seven Voyage of
Oh,
Sinbad.
Sinbad.
I was unbelievably, I found through your book how many points are similar between my life and Sheldon Leddich's life. Strangely enough.
And I thank you. I always appreciated how much you shared it on social media and got the word out for the book, and I always appreciated that and meant a lot to me. So thank you for that.
Corey, you reignited Michael Dennis to do the Riverbend.
Riverbend. Yeah.
Because he bought the script, he bought the print, and it was already sitting in his home for 2 or 3 years until you showed interest, and then it reignited him, and he said, "Okay, let's go, let's do something with it."
Yeah,
He did
congratulations
not
and all that.
scan it
That's
for a
awesome.
long time. It was just sitting in his house,
Wow.
the print.
Well, yeah, I
And
just had gotten, I watched it again and I got thinking like this is almost a forgotten movie. and
It is a forgotten movie.
it should not be. I mean,
And
Steve
Corey,
James was
the
so
high
good.
definition, we already color corrected it and we removed all the scratches.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful in high definition. In Texas, it was it played in Texas Film
Yeah.
Festival, and I saw it on a big screen, high definition. It's magnificent with new colors, vivid colors, beautiful, really. But it's unbelievable when
Great.
you take an old movie and screen it on a high definition.
Mhm.
So beautiful, so beautiful.
Excited. Now,
Yeah, it's gonna be good. He's dealing with more legal. There are more legal problems with Riverbend
great.
than with Cyber,
Oh
with
no.
American Samurai.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
both of you taking your time to talk with me
yeah.
about this. I'm excited.
Well, thank you
We
so
are
much.
happy to talk with you and happy. And if you need photos, I will send you the link to the
Okay.
Dropbox file of American Samurai. There are
Okay,
a lot of behind the scene photos and other photos that if you want to use, if you're doing something,
yeah.
please
I'm
use
gonna
any
probably do
photo.
a few things, because I want to help keep this, keep it moving and keep, at least in the public eye, so people kind of build some, anticipation. Because I watched the
So
trailer and
I will send the link to both of you. You will enjoy it. I don't think I sent it to you, the link.
No, no. I
Oh,
mean,
so
I
you will
only,
just see the behind the scene. There are pictures from the movie and photos from the movies and photos from behind the scene. So
okay,
both
because
of you will enjoy it.
I've only seen the ones that's in your book.
No. So I will send you the link. I'll
Okay,
send
all
both
right.
of you the link
awesome.
right now when we finish. Okay. Thank you
All right.
too. Thank you for
Thanks a lot.
helping and thank you for
Yeah, definitely.
the
And
interview.
please keep in touch and keep me posted.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Corey.
All right. Take care, guys.
Okay, guys.
Okay, bye-bye
Bye.
now.
Bye.